Crito is the next dialogue in the Plato book, and it picks up where the Apology left off. In this dialogue, Socrates is awaiting execution in his jail cell, and he is visited by his friend named Crito. And his primary goal is to get Socrates out of jail by using his money, basically. What we mainly get in this dialogue is Socrates rejecting Crito's offer. Socrates does not want to pay his way out of this sentence, and his rejection of Crito's offer to pay him out of jail really reveals how Socrates feels about justice itself. Socrates' main issue with Crito's pleading to get him out of jail is that the Athenian jury found Socrates guilty. So Socrates, being the lawful person that he is, he sort of respects what the jury has considered for his case. And his main issue is that if he does pay his way out of jail, he is sort of retaliating against this sentence, and he claims that causing a moral wrong, even if the sentence itself might have been morally wrong, causing a moral wrong in retaliation is also not a good thing. What Socrates essentially says is that the only right way to go about changing the laws that govern society is to either persuade people to think otherwise or to just endure what they want you to endure. There is no recourse to a kind of destruction of laws because someone doesn't agree with them. Socrates says that we can't simply destroy the laws that make up our society. Instead, we need to persuade people to think otherwise, which is what we see in the Apology. Socrates spends most of the dialogue trying to convince the Athenian jury to either lessen his sentence or to disregard it altogether. But in the end, they still find him guilty and sentence him to death. And so, in essence, Socrates' persuasion didn't work on the jury. He's not going to then fight it in a way, because he had his chance to persuade the jury, and if the jury did not agree with him, then that's all we can really do. The social contract part of the idea here is that because Athens was a great city to him growing up, which is proven by the fact that he never left and that he raised his kids in Athens, because the city was so good to him, he needs to respect the laws that made up this city. So there's a kind of tacit contract here. Because Socrates lived in Athens, he now is considered a part of Athenian life. He is part of the laws that make up Athens, and if he wants to change anything, he needs to make a case for it. What I find most interesting about this dialogue is that Socrates kind of lays out a method of changing society that we sort of have maybe forgotten today. We think of revolutions as kind of happening in a blink and suddenly there's widespread change. Socrates sort of paints a picture of justice here where revolutions don't really occur in a violent blink. Instead, real change comes from understanding the law and society as a naturally evolving object, something that changes through your participation in it. And I think that's one of the key takeaways of this dialogue. Socrates might seem a little crazy to not take Crito's offer to escape death, but Socrates views society and its laws as both a force that imposes its rulings on him, but also as something that he can change himself. This, I think, is reflected in the text. Socrates' explanation to Crito is almost entirely quoted dialogue. And at first you might think that this is Socrates quoting the law itself, but instead it's him quoting what he thinks the law would tell him if you were to go ahead with Crito's plan. And what I find interesting here is that by presenting this text as both quoted material and as coming from Socrates himself, it's kind of conflating the two, and that reflects the message of the dialogue in that you are, in a sense, acted upon by the law, but you are also an inseparable part of the law. Law and governance has definitely changed since Socrates' time, but I think the message is still an important one to understand, that our voices are just as much for ourselves as they are for society and its laws at large. And it's ironic that Socrates is presenting this almost empowering message from a jail cell. He still holds on to the idea right up until the end. And the next dialogue in the book, the Phaedo, will cover the final hours of Socrates as he awaits his death sentence in his jail cell.